they're like two of the best actors working in the world. I think they're very different, but they're both incredibly physical. Barry's got a charisma that connects with a viewer, so that when you go to really dark places, he takes you with you and he doesn't lose you. And Chris is just, what I adore about Chris is every time I watched a movie with Chris in, he was completely different. It's like, and I completely believe him to be those characters. I see no seam, I see no process, I see no, I don't see any gears. I just see somebody alive, and that for me that's what makes me really excited.
This episode of the Movie Podcast is brought to you by Mubi, the #1 streaming service for movie lovers. From films by legendary directors like Bong Joon-ho and Luca Guadagnino to festival fresh gems like Coralie Farjad's The Substance and Vera Drew's The People's Joker, every film on Mubi is handpicked to captivate and expand your cinematic horizons. Ready to immerse yourself in unforgettable storytelling? Mubi can make every day feel like you have an on-demand film festival in your home right at your fingertips. Start streaming now by visiting mubi.com/themoviepodcast. That's mubi.com/themoviepodcast, where listeners and watchers of our show can get an exclusive offer of 30 days free to stream great cinema you can't find anywhere else. That, of course, includes the film that this episode is all about, Bring Them Down, the chilling new revenge thriller from director Christopher Andrews, starring Christopher Abbott and Barry Keoghan, which is streaming exclusively on Mubi starting today. Not only does Mubi have incredible films, but the experience you'll have exploring their platform is what makes it so easy to find your next favorite film. From their playlists to their discovery pages to the layout of how all these films are presented to you, you're going to find films you've never heard of before, and that's the best part. You're going to find something you love, something that feels handpicked and recommended to you by somebody you know. Head over to mubi.com/themoviepodcast. That's mubi.com/themoviepodcast to get 30 days of incredible hand-picked cinema for free.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Nice to see you too. I'm Daniel.
I'm Anthony.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm Chris.
We're just whispering.
We're just whispering now. Just start up nice and ASMR for this interview.
This is all I've got left in my voice, man.
Hey, we don't blame you. You've been going on an incredible tour for this from TIFF, from everything. So we're just so grateful for you to share your time with us today. And we just want to congratulate you on this film. We're just so moved watching it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There's almost like a biblical feel to this movie. And I think that's something that when we were watching it too, we almost had like this weight on us while watching it. And I think that's intentional too. When you're going through this experience, you feel like you're part of this world.
Yeah, no, completely. Yeah, what I wanted to make was something that felt so visceral and so immersive. That you feel like you're sort of falling into the frame, and then once you've got hold of people's lapels, you can sort of whip them on a journey and sort of like hit it hard and don't stop until you do, but the biblical aspect, is like this from the very beginning. Like the very first thought was, I was on a mountain and I saw a shepherd, and I was at the time I was playing with biblical stories and twisting them, see what I could create out of them. And so the shepherd kind of walk out of the mist and felt like this very singular character. And immediately the parable of the good shepherd came to mind. And so what would happen once he goes to save the lost sheep if someone comes and messes with his flock.
And we have to ask you too, with this being your debut feature film, for you as a filmmaker, like what is it like to do something on this scale for you? Like what was that experience like going into this, knowing that this is the biggest project that you've worked on, and this is entirely yours?
It's strange because I thought I would be terrified. Like I made some short films. I made one. The last one that I made before I made this film was quite a lot of money, or what it seemed like an awful lot of money to me. It was like 70 grand, like £80,000, which is huge. I was like, that's a short film. It's like and so like on the very first day we were driving to set, and I saw like catering trucks and Jenny's and stuff. I was like, I'm gonna be sick. I was like so overwhelmed. And so I thought that that's how I was going to feel, like you're driving to set, like there's all this, like so much more, like hullabaloo going on, and well, you got Christopher Abbott waiting for you, like you do your first shot. But I was like, I guess I'd been like working so hard so long. I was just like the happiest man on the planet. Like if you could measure, so I was like, this is just joyous. It's everything that everything I've been working for an awfully long time, and with so many obstacles, so many false starts, I just didn't feel nervous. I just felt completely joyous.
That's amazing. That's amazing that you got to have that experience, especially with the undertaking and the journey that you go on in this film. It's like now this is the part you just get to celebrate and share it with everyone, right?
Yeah, completely. And even, the whole shoot was a real joy. It was like there's so much fun, and like the crew was so hard working, and we sort of galvanized it like a family. That it was just it was just really like every day everyone was excited about coming to work. So much so that when they saw the film for the first time, it was a bit of a shock, because they came out and they were like, we had so much fun, but we feel like really sad. They've been on this journey. They hadn't like the disconnect between what they made and their experience making it.
Yeah, it felt really personal. Like even coming out of it, I felt like this hit me, even though I wasn't there with you guys, but it just felt like the characters in this film, they had such a personal connection with one another, and the chemistry between everyone in such a small environment, and this it's such a small story in the sense of this revenge tale. It felt like I was there and I was getting hurt by what I was witnessing.
No, I mean, I appreciate you saying that. That was the intention, is like to create this kind of very close knit. Everybody is like knows each other well, and that comes across. I think testament of the actors. They are just generous towards one another, and have such an amazing. I mean, he's really talented, but it was always this way of like trying to find the reason why I love these actors is they become the characters in a way that's so unique. You can find, even when they're going to really dark places, because you can recognize them as human beings. They never lose you, and they never become monsters. And so I think that's one of the joys of the film, is people are becoming immersed in it because of their performances.
And you had this movie premiere in our neck of the woods, which is Toronto, at TIFF, TIFF 2024. How was that experience for you?
Oh, it was amazing. You make the film and you deliver the film, and then it's like, okay, and you're just waiting, and nobody kind of goes, it's great. Everyone's trying, just like everyone's doing their jobs, and you're kind of just sat waiting and wondering, and you're like, what have I done? And you go through all these different, and you get the cold that you didn't have while you were shooting, and then you get some, it's kind of a weird, like, purgatory. And then to get TIFF, it was just really exciting, and we got there, and I had terrible jet lag, so I didn't sleep for like 4 days. I had 12 hours sleep in five days. And I was
It sounds like
yeah, I was so incredibly nervous. Like I was out of body experience when I was on the stage introducing the film with Barry hadn't seen it, Colin hadn't seen it, Chris hadn't, and already liked it. And we sat there, and as soon as it started playing, and you could just feel the audience connecting with it, and Barry was getting really excited, and Colin was really excited, and so it was going from being terrified into like just, I wasn't watching the film, I was just like soaking in everybody's response. And TIFF audiences are so generous and so like cine literate. It was just a real pleasure. So I didn't watch it again for about 6 weeks in other screenings, because I was keeping it like this sort of really special like moment. Like it was so special to me. It's up there with like both of my kids. Yeah, it was amazing.
Had you been to Toronto before?
Never. It was my first time in Canada, so it was.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, it was. I loved it. Really, I was just overwhelmed with how big it was, like skyscrapers, and it's so vast. It's a really beautiful city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're mentioning Chris, you're mentioning Barry, who are so incredible in this film together, and also the feeling of just isolation that both of them give in both that kind of their sides of the story. It's really incredible. So we'd love to know again, like working with them on this film, and also specifically with Chris, whose accent isn't his own accent. So shooting in Ireland, wanting to adopt that Galway accent and making sure that feels authentic to the character and to everyone around. What was it like, collaborating with them to bring this film to life?
I mean, they're like two of the best actors working in the world, I think. And they're very different, but they're both incredibly physical in their own like I said before. They have that ability to become. Barry's got a charisma that allows that connects with a viewer, that so that when you go to really dark places, he takes you with you and he doesn't lose you. And Chris is just a commit. What I adore about Chris is every time I watched a movie with Chris in, he was completely different. It's like, and I completely believe him to be those characters. I see no seam, I see no process, I see no, I don't see any gears. I just see somebody alive, and that for me that's what makes me really excited. And that doesn't, that comes from like a skill and an ability, a natural ability that it has, and a kind of just presence, but also work. The accent, and he's speaking a Connemara accent, but it's also the language as well. He's speaking in Irish, which is incredibly difficult language to learn, even phonetically. It's and he's absolutely spot on. All the Irish like screenings, all the Irish press, like it was doing like press with Irish speaking radio stations, and they were just like, he's phenomenal. They're playing clips, and it's like it's incredible. And that takes a brain and takes a skill, but it's like you need to work really hard, and he does. It's very measured, and that was the one thing in the whole process that there's been a lot of examples of people trying Irish accents and falling quite far short, and I didn't, and he definitely didn't want to be found out like that, and testament to him and his hard work. He absolutely nailed it.
Like it literally, it's one of those things that we felt like we were being gassed a little bit. We're like,
100%.
This person's from America. Like, are we sure? Like it's so authentic.
When I saw him, I'm like, I know is he American? I don't get, like, man, I don't know, like, I'm not an Irish connoisseur in terms of the dialect. And I'm like, but he sounds like he's Irish. And then learning about all the things that he had to do to get to that accent, like, my gosh, he's a chameleon.
No, he really is. And like some of the crew didn't know who he was. Like, and so they were like, you've uncovered this like exceptional Irish talent. Like, it's like, yeah, it's from Connecticut. Our grip was from Connecticut, but I'd lived in Ireland and he was like his mind was blown. You can see him just wandering around going, I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Yeah, no, he's pretty, yeah, he was like, yeah, gaslight everybody.
Yeah. But also, and something that's also fascinating with us in this film too is like the amount of sheep in this film. And like, I know like working with animals in general is a huge undertaking. So for you too, like what was it like to shoot those sequences? Because like it's not something that it's just not you're having these animals and you're gonna let them do their thing. Like you have to like have a plan on what's happening with these sheep in this film, and they are such a huge part of the story.
I mean, it's tricky. We had a great animal handler and then a shepherd who came with the sheep and his dog. His dog's in the film, and Pat was our shepherd was controlling the animals off camera, and Chris knew the calls that the dog would respond to, but the dog responds only to Pat. It's such a highly trained, really expensive like 30 grand's worth of dog. It's crazy, but just exceptional. So yeah, there was just about making sure logistically we knew where we wanted to be, and we knew like those sequences we'd sort of planned out, and then there was there's always an element of luck. We get this beautiful kind of image in the film where we've got kind of like God rays coming down, and that was we were working on the opposite side of the mountain. I sort of turned around and saw them. I was like, quick, and we sort of like moved all the sheep across, and we did that sequence, and it just like so it's just a little bit of luck, and then and then there was a little bit of bad luck where we'd lost two of the sheep. When we see the rams for the first time, they've got these exceptional horns. And then when you see them on the top of the mountain, and Barry's like, I'm going to have these sheep, I'm going to have these two rams. And then when we get them down to the bottom, their horns aren't quite as magnificent. It's because we'd worked with the rams and they stayed there. And then we had one shepherd, one dog, and we were doing this as a sequence. And then we turned around and was like, we need the rams now. And they're like, where's the rams gone? And then someone's like, they're over there, and they were on the other side of the valley, and they're expensive. They're like £28,000 each. Those animals, and Pat the shepherd's like, oh, someone will bring them back, and they did. Like 3 weeks later, like a truck arrived, and another farmer had found them, like sort of grazing on the side of the road. So yeah, it was tricky, but it was fun,
Yeah.
Or maybe not for the next one.
Maybe not. You had your fill of sheep for this one.
Yeah. Make it a bit easier for myself.
Another character that's beautiful to see is the west of Ireland, the hills of Ireland, and the cinematography of this film is amazing. The natural lighting, the beauty of behind that darker side of this narrative. What was the atmospheric tone that you were going for when it came to the cinematography of this film?
I was always very naturalistic. We wanted it to feel like you were there, excuse me, like with like the sound design, with the score, it all needed to feel like it was textured, that the like, and even down to the quality, like the clothing. Chris's clothing is all organic, Barry's is all synthetic, so you get these sort of contrasting ideas. And then when I was talking to Nick Cook about colors and the framing, it was always about keeping it really natural, and so that we didn't have this kind of artifice to it. It felt like it was made out of something which was like an image which was made out of like paint, like something that you could touch, had a haptic quality to it. And so, but we wanted it to still feel quite, cinematic, and have that kind of like one nod to the 70s, that kind of like American revenge thrillers, and all those incredible cinematographers that were working, like Connie Hall, and all those guys that doing these, incredible movies. And I think Fat City was one that we kept. It was a very different environment, but the quality of the image was something that I was always kind of banging on about. But within that, there was a naturalism in that, like almost like a near realistic, but still the way that they move the camera is different. So together it allows you to fall into that world. I felt, and so we were trying to do a similar thing in Bring Them Down.
It's truly is beautiful, and Chris, we're so grateful for your time. I know we could go on for even longer with you to talk about this, but I really hope we get to talk to you again down the road, and for whatever you work on next. Hopefully we'll see you at the Toronto International Film Festival one year, and we'll be able to connect then. And again, congratulations on what you made here. It's incredible.
I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. It was a real pleasure meeting you.